So we're moving into probably, well, I guess we're third month into this, and once again, like I said last week, I want to thank everybody for making it through another week. As I do every press conference, I try to find an example of a responsible decision one of our members of the public made, and I really want to commend some of the community groups throughout the city, community organizations that have kept going throughout this pandemic. And what I get to this is not so much meeting in social gatherings, but using other means to actually still maintain their associations, so on and so forth. And I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate those individuals that have been through a bit of a tough time, specifically as it relates to pre-planned events that they may have had. I've personally had some friends that had to have weddings canceled and so on and so forth, and what they've done is they've actually used alternate means to actually still have these weddings. Yes, some have postponed them until this is over, but I want to congratulate those individuals that they may not have necessarily been able to have that large ceremony that they wanted, but they used alternate means to be able to still have a large ceremony, such as Facebook Live and different things like that. So there are other mechanisms that we can use to actually still continue with kind of our everyday lives. I wanted to speak specifically on two items today. And specifically, the first one is surrounding the provincial relaunch strategy that was released last Friday. A little bit ambiguous when you start looking at this, and that's intentional. No different than what we've seen with some of the Chief Medical Officer of Health orders that were somewhat ambiguous, somewhat loose, to allow a little bit of interpretation in that. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. One of the largest items I think that created some ambiguity is regarding outdoor recreational activities. So I personally received some questions and information on Friday as to number one is really what is an outdoor recreational activity, because the province really didn't address what that means. So if we look at the provincial relaunch strategy, we had current state and stage one where it actually had outdoor recreational activities, and the question is, well, what does this actually mean? And so thankfully the province was able to release some additional information over the weekend as to what outdoor recreational activities means. So if we take a step back at this and we start looking at some of the principles and guidelines laid out by Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services, and I'll say this time and time again, is so you look at the 2 meters physical distancing, no gatherings of more than 15 people, all of this still applies, even as it relates to outdoor recreational activities. So on the alberta.ca website, it actually has a very detailed list regarding outdoor recreational activities, and I really want to convey their message to members of the public and the media for that matter as to what they're saying. So this isn't a City of Medicine Hat restriction. I'm just conveying this message. So when it comes down to outdoor recreational activities, Alberta Health is still mandating the 2 meters of physical distancing, still mandating the maximum 15 people. So when you start looking at different outdoor recreational activities such as organized sports and team sports, as per Alberta Health, these are not permitted. So even though the provincial relaunch strategy said outdoor recreational activities are allowed in the current state and in stage one, and things may change, of course, in stage one, and additional detail will be provided, but right now, team sports and organized sports are not allowed. So again, we go back to those principles related to Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services: 2 meters physical distancing, no greater than 15 people within that gathering. Another piece that I wanted to add on this one is regarding the gathering within family members, and so that this doesn't mean that your family, meaning family within a household, can't go around and throw the baseball around, can't go around and throw that football around. That's not an organized sport, and that's not a team sport. So I encourage all of our residents to, again, educate themselves on this, on some of these restrictions. And I try to do my best within my position and within my authority to basically convey those messages on behalf of Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services, because it's for the benefit of us all, for as much information to get out there as possible. So I'm hoping that provides some clarification to the public regarding that. I know for myself that provided clarification for me. The second one that I wanted to talk about is another communication piece that came out from the province approximately about a week and a half ago, and this is regarding summer activities or summer festivals, I should say. And so the provincial government had stated that they are mandating that all summer festivals be cancelled up until the end of summer. Now, I recognize September, we're looking at our summer's end of summer is September 21st. We need to do our part as a municipality to support that process. So with careful deliberation, the city is canceling all city events up until August 31st, recognizing, of course, that as we move through the relaunch strategy, so stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, that may soften up a little bit. But we want to be able to communicate well in advance to organizers that may be planning some of these events that we are not permitting any city events to occur until August 31st. Like I said, there will be a reevaluation on that one. Recognizing as well as majority of the events have already been canceled. The one that hasn't been canceled, I want to be really clear on this one, and this is a difficult one, and it's a difficult decision, which it's careful deliberation on this one. Recognizing that there's, it's very difficult to maintain 2 meters of physical distancing, very, very difficult to maintain that limited of 15 people within a gathering, is our Canada Day fireworks. So we are canceling the Canada Day fireworks, and like I said, this is with careful deliberation, and we understand it may create some tension within the community, and we understand that. But we also want to state that this is due to the orders set out by the province, such as 2 meters of physical distancing and the group gatherings of 15 people. Is we don't feel confident within this process that we as a municipality and as a community as a whole, that we can maintain that right across the city as the fireworks occur. And I also want to state that what we're seeing within not only the province, not only the country, but also the world, is we're almost moving through 3 stages of outbreaks. As first it was in the long-term care facilities. Now we're seeing a lot more of the outbreaks in actual large workplaces or large facilities. But actually we've gone to this 3rd stage where we're seeing the outbreaks within the community. And so we need to do what we can as a municipality to be able to curb that 3rd piece there where it's in our power. And so that is why, I'll repeat it again, is we are canceling the Canada Day fireworks. We all need to do our part in this process. And this is just one piece of it. We're all in this together. Sometimes we have to make some difficult decisions. Sometimes it does create tension. It does create some I guess mixed emotions within this process. But please be certain that we are doing this for you and for the members of the public, and that we will get back to a state in which events like this can occur. So I just want to thank the community for supporting us as we support you within this process. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor for some other news on this one, and we could open up for questions later.
Thanks, Merrick. We were talking last night about the fireworks in council, and we do hope, though, that if they're allowed in 2021, that they will be the best ever, and I think council will work with the Canada Day Committee as well to see that they have the funding to carry forward this very, very important event. So hopefully maybe some good news out of the not so great news. So I think I did answer some questions last night about the stimulus package, or the economic stimulus package, the COVID relief package, whatever you want to call it. And I just, maybe if you were looking to have some more questions from, maybe some more clarification, if you've had some time to digest it since last night. So the question was, do we have a timeline on the framework for distributing the community futures money? So the answer was no, not yet, but we're working with the business groups. That's a good question. Is this the uptake or a continuation of the Brood strategy? No, I wouldn't say it is a continuation of the Brood strategy. This is an actual COVID. This is trying to get new business and existing business. Like, maybe an existing business that has a strong balance sheet but could use this downturn to, increase, do a capital expenditure, perhaps to prepare for future COVID events. I think the sky's the limit right now on this one. And I'm sorry we don't have a framework yet, but we will soon. So Medicine Hat, and Merrick has talked about this quite a bit, is we have taken the responsible resident approach. We're one of the only municipalities that didn't declare a state of local emergency. We didn't feel we needed those powers. We've tried to use education. Merrick has talked about this many, many times. And for the most part, we are hearing, you can see our cases, that Medicine Hat is a shining example of how to do this without having to have enforcement. Now, does that say that we won't? Obviously, if things get out of hand, we will support AHS. So when it comes to businesses, I trust the businesses to do the right things. If they're told 50% occupancy and 2 meters apart, you can pretty much guarantee that in Medicine Hat, the businesses are going to do that. And they're going to try to comply as best they can, as long as they know what the rules are. And so I'm very confident about that. But of course, when it comes to business, that's an AHS, you complain. When it comes to our residents not following the rules, then we have to, get our police involved, which I really don't want to do, as I've been saying over and over and over again. But if we have to, we will.
The question was, are we going to be opening up Echodale? Echodale could be construed as a pool. And is construed as a pool as it relates to the Chief Medical Officer of Health Orders, so that is included within Stage 3. And so you could make a fairly safe assumption that Stage 3 would be in September, which would mean that we wouldn't even, we could potentially not even be filling Echodale this year.
So in a very high level, the council announced $8.2 million stimulus package that covers both property taxes and utilities and economic stimulus to business, $2 million to Entrecourt, to existing or new businesses, plus $1 million to the CAO at his discretion. Basically, come to the city with an idea, a business. Basically, the sky's the limit on that one. You need some land, who knows? So he has discretion of basically $1 million that won't have to go through the usual council approval process. The $2 million to Entrecourt that I mentioned, $1 million to community warmth. I was saying to the media last night about community warmth. Maybe it's not just about gas; it's your utility bill. Community warmth is a program that the city has had for about 8 years, I think now, whereby people can come to the Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, and say, "I'm having trouble paying my utility bill. Can you help me out?" Well, normally there's $15,000 to $25,000 a year goes into that program. We've just allocated $1 million for that program. So that will be there for those that have been most disadvantaged by this, that have lost their jobs and can't pay their utility bills. I think even one of the most important pieces of this is the 12-month to 24-month payback period. Council really struggled with this. Yeah, okay, we can give you 3 months not to pay your property taxes, or 3 months that your utilities aren't due, but what happens at the end of the 3 months when you have $1,000 in utilities owing or $3,000 in property tax owing, and you still have to come up with that money plus your regular bills that you haven't been able to pay? So we basically have a 12-month extension on that, on the payback. You could come, if you owe us $1,000, pay us $100 a month, that kind of thing, whatever works, but I think that is going to help people out versus that crush of bills coming in 3 months. And as well as, of course, the property tax relief, which is about 3.8 million, 3.9 million of this. Basically, you will receive your 2020 property tax bill. It will say amount owing $1,000. I'm making these numbers up. And then it will say COVID credit or relief credit or tax credit minus 3.5% basically, and then the net owing. So you will see your property taxes you get a rebate of about 3.5% on your property taxes. Some people might say 3.5. Well, that's not very much, but compared to the other municipalities in this entire country, even in the world, are basically insolvent. A lot of municipalities are insolvent right now because they don't have any revenue. They're going to the province to keep afloat. Municipalities are not allowed to borrow money. All this money you're seeing from the federal and provincial governments is borrowed money. They don't have this money that you're getting. They're borrowing it. Municipalities are not allowed to borrow money for operations. So we had to take this out of savings. And as you heard many, many times at council last night, we're very, very blessed and lucky to live in a city that has had some prudent, I'm not saying myself, prudent management over the last 100 years to set aside funds for the future, for a rainy day. And the definition of a rainy day, I think, is today. And just to put that in perspective, I was just talking earlier, 8 million, I mean, other levels of government are throwing around billions and millions, and it's hard to keep track of, to quantify it or put it on a per capita basis or try to get your head around all these different numbers. $8 million is a fire hall. That's what a fire hall would cost in Medicine Hat, or 2/3 of a new Viner Center. So basically, council just approved that amount of money last night to go back into the community as relief and hopefully get money flowing around again in the economy. You may have noticed at the end of the press release that the city also, we mentioned, we probably got overlooked, that we've submitted a list of shovel-ready projects, or shovel-worthy projects we're calling them, capital projects to the province. We've been in discussions with the Minister of Municipal Affairs. We have phone calls with him weekly. And all the municipalities are putting in. And so we've submitted a list as well. It's a very extensive list. I think if everything on it was approved, which it won't be, it's a couple $100 million worth of capital projects. We don't expect that, but what we're doing is just giving them a list of projects. I'll give you a bit of a teaser. Some of the projects include water treatment plants, to campgrounds, to a bridge over the river, a walking bridge over the river, those types of things. So we've just kind of taken a wish list, and not just a wish list, but also a needs. I mean, a water treatment plant is a need, not a wish. And so we've put that all in a package and sent it to the government as well. It was the desire, when you have fireworks, to have mass gatherings. I think, even if we closed off Kincooley and you weren't even allowed to get in there, I think we all know that there's a lot of backyards up on the hill that host fireworks parties, where you can have 100 people in the backyard watch the fireworks, and really just to take away the temptation to have a mass gathering. And I know it's unfortunate, and I know I think it got out into the community that perhaps we were going to continue with them this year, and there was some hope and some optimism about that. And so it was with great reluctance, but it's a necessity. And we're supporting Alberta Health. This is an Alberta Health, and we're supporting them in their decisions.